Now, and in high definition on BBC One HD, the Six Nations rugby starts right here, with England against Wales.
History is, as they say, just one thing after another. But how much do any of us really know about the history of England and Wales? Prince Charles is the Prince of Wales, but who was the last Welsh speaker to hold that crown? Llewellyn ap Griffith at the end of the 13th century. That's more than 800 years ago. Then Edward I of England and his troops rampaged through Wales. His son Edward II was born here in Carnarvon, and from that day to this, the eldest son of the monarch has assumed the mantle, and Carnarvon Castle stands as a truly magnificent monument to English imperialism.
Llewellyn fell in battle at Builth, Wales, where this monument marks not just his death, but the end of Welsh dreams of independence. Llewellyn's head was taken to the Tower of London, where it was kept on display for 15 years.
800 years of history played out on the rugby field. The incomparable Phil Bennett inspired his team to victory in 1977 with the words, "They've taken our coal, our water, our steel. We've been exploited, controlled and punished by the English, and that's who you're playing this afternoon." And in the paper this morning, Ben Foden, the England star, added fuel to the fire. "We are England," he wrote. "We are the big country, so let's go to Wales tonight and put them in their place."
Well, Oscar Wilde once said that rugby was the only guarantee he knew of keeping 30 ruffians out of the centre of a city. But that's not the case in Cardiff, because the city is the game and the game is the city, which is what makes the Millennium Stadium such a special venue, and the atmosphere tonight so extraordinary. The first time the Six Nations has started on a Friday night, and you can hear Delilah ringing round the 75,000 who are here already. Jonathan Davis and Jeremy Guscott here, savouring what is an extraordinary atmosphere. And Jonathan, I suppose it could go both ways from a Welsh point of view. Well, I think that's left you in no doubt that it matters, not just to the guys on the field, not just to the 75,000 who are here in the stadium in Cardiff, but to a Welsh nation who, to a man, woman and child, are watching this evening. And there are so many varying opinions on what actually might happen tonight. England have won 54 meetings between the countries, Wales 53, so it could hardly be closer in terms of the history books. And one moment, good or bad, could decide it. The first match of the Six Nations, so key in establishing momentum. Who will cope best in this cauldron of an atmosphere that really could take the roof off?
It'll be interesting to hear. Martin Johnson, I'm sure, will play down England's victory, but Warren Gatland, in a sense, he's got a hard job putting a positive spin on where Wales are at the moment.
Definite, because again, it looks okay. Looks a very attractive game.
So Wales 19, England 26, and we're a third of the way through the first weekend of this year's Six Nations. Welcome to Stade de France for the final match on this opening weekend of the Six Nations Championship. And this is an anniversary for the international game to cherish, because this is the centenary of France's first ever victory in the then Five Nations Championship. Their opponents then, as now, Scotland. The match was played at Stade Colombe in front of just 6,000 people. But this is the bit you're going to love. France came by train from the centre of Paris, and a couple of stops short of the ground, one of their wingers got off to buy himself a sandwich. Nobody noticed he didn't get back on again, so they arrived at the ground with just 14, and seconds before kick-off they dragged a volunteer out of the crowd to make up the 15. That was rugby in 1911. This is rugby in 2011. It's pretty serious these days, and France determined to repeat last year's Grand Slam. On a chill early evening, I have to say it was a glorious early spring day, but really the temperature's been dropping dramatically over the last couple of hours, and we're high up in our gantry here above the pitch with Andy Nicol, former Scotland captain, and Jerry Guscott, who's come over from Cardiff last night, and we'll talk to them both in a second about the events last night and also this afternoon in Italy, where the most dramatic finale to the match in Rome, where Italy tantalisingly close to their first ever Six Nations triumph over Ireland when Luke McLean scored with just 5 minutes to go. The conversion from the corner would have made all the difference. You can see Ireland one man short at this point, because Ireland would not have been able to win the game with either a drop goal or a penalty, but a drop goal was enough from Ronan O'Gara with 2 minutes and 27 seconds on the clock. And how significant might that be come the final match of the season in mid-May when Ireland play England at the Aviva Stadium. Anyway, that's how the table looks at the moment. Early stages, obviously. England on top on points difference. And we here in Paris watching that game on tenterhooks, Andy, because just for a moment you thought this might be a hugely significant moment for Italian rugby. Okay, well, obviously it's England against Italy at Twickenham next weekend, and we actually have a forum after our programme here tonight on the interactive service. So any points you want to make about the game in Cardiff last night, in Rome this afternoon, and obviously the game we're about to see here in Paris between France and Scotland, email us at rugbyunion@bbc.co.uk, and we'll put as many points as we can to our experts here during the course of those 30 minutes or so. Interesting to know actually what's being said in the Scottish dressing room at the moment, because the bottom line or the top line is you've lost, but you've played so well that, you know, as one always says in the sporting environment, you've got to take the positives, and there are lots of them.
There are, but you know, they're in an international changing room right now. They'll be absolutely gutted that they've lost an international. When the dust settles, they'll analyse it and they'll see there was a lot of very good stuff there.
Well, the man who can actually answer that question is the Scottish captain, and he's with Jill Douglas. And British Olympic dreams you can see on next Saturday at 1 o'clock before we begin round 2 of the Six Nations Championship. And England clinical in Cardiff last night. Ireland perhaps a little bit fortunate in Rome this afternoon with that last moment Ronan O'Gara drop goal. And we've got Brazil's footballers here on Wednesday in the Stade de France, and today France played rugby to a samba beat. See you on the red button.